This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Nearly 300 of the thousands of Palestinians stranded in Egypt have crossed into the Gaza Strip via the Oja border crossing. This news comes 2 months after they were stranded on the Rafah border crossing, which has been closed by Israel. In accordance with the Palestinian, Israeli, and Egyptian security agreement, the returnees were instructed to enter into Israel via the Oja passage along the Egyptian border, and then they were taken by bus to the Erez terminal in the northern Gaza Strip, where they were finally allowed entry.
Nearly 32 people have died while waiting on the Egyptian side of the borders. In addition, 5 women gave birth at the border. It will be hard for those women to return home. Among the returnees were several ill and disabled persons who could not even walk. Many people ran out of money, and some even started to panhandle.
I was allowed to return, but not with my family, because my name was called and theirs wasn't. Many women and sick people are still stranded on the border.
No one from the embassy visited us. Those who said that the embassy provided aid to the stranded are liars and hypocrites. Some went to Cairo, and 50 or 100 of them were paid less than 500 Egyptian pounds, and the rest were told to get out and go home.
I left behind some children who have nowhere to go and have to live on the streets. Yes, they are left on the streets in Gaza. For nearly 60 days, we have been stranded in Egypt.
We demand that the authority open the Rafah border crossing. God knows when the passage will reopen. They must open it so those who depend on it for business travel can do so and be able to make ends meet.
ما زالت ردود الأفعال وتصريحات الإدانة والشجب حول ما تعرض له.
The attack on Fateh Parliament member Ashraf Jum'a has generated strong reactions and condemnations. A number of Parliament members demanded that an inquiry be established so that the perpetrators can be brought to justice.
Parliament member Ashraf Jum'a has paid a price for the lack of security in Gaza. The Palestinian government condemned the attack on Jum'a and his aides by Hamas militia. The government also condemned the executive forces militia for repressing the public demonstration that was held in Rafah to condemn this crime. Armed men surrounded Ashraf Jum'a's office and opened fire on the building and its occupants.
This is part of the systematic attacks carried out by Hamas in Gaza. The attack on Parliament member Ashraf Jum'a has crossed all red lines, and it was immoral. Brother Ashraf enjoys parliamentary immunity, and he should have been protected. Brother Ashraf's national positions are well known. He worked to serve public interests.
According to medical sources, Parliament member Ashraf Jum'a was severely injured in his head and back. 2 other people were shot and 5 others were injured. Fateh Parliament members said that the attack was planned and held Hamas responsible.
Hamas lies every day. Every day they attack Parliament members. What is happening in Gaza is a crime against every Palestinian. They talk about security and safety. What safety and security are they talking about? They talk about money and the economy. What economy are they talking about?
Many people protested this attack against Parliament member Ashraf Jum'a, who enjoys parliamentary immunity in Gaza.
This attack is strongly condemned. This should never happen to any parliament member or citizen. Without a doubt, this has to do with the absence of a legitimate government in Gaza. Hamas executive forces and the Qassam brigades have taken over the security responsibilities, but this is illegal. Hamas must change its course of action, so it will be possible to re-establish the role of law and enforce order.
The attacks on citizens in Gaza continue amidst the absence of security agencies, thus forcing Palestinians to live in constant danger.
Moscow needs to sever its ties with Hamas. That's the message Palestinian Authority Chairman Mahmoud Abbas will deliver when he meets with Russian officials during a three-day visit. The PA leader holds talks today with Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and will meet later with President Vladimir Putin. Russia is the only member of the Middle East Peace Quartet that maintains links with Hamas. Abbas said that he plans to discuss the Hamas coup in Gaza with Putin and Lavrov, along with the conditions necessary for holding an international conference on the Middle East.
Arab League foreign ministers gathered in Cairo today to discuss ways of ending the Palestinian split between the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip and the Fatah-dominated West Bank. Ahead of the meeting, PA Prime Minister Salam Fayyad met with Arab League Secretary General Amr Moussa. Fayyad said the Hamas coup in Gaza had left an unacceptable situation. The 22-member body will also discuss fresh efforts to restart the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. Amr Moussa said the Arab League will decide on the Arab position in response to U.S. President George W. Bush's call for a Middle East peace conference this fall.
U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice and Defense Secretary Robert Gates are headed to the region on a rare joint mission to discuss a reported $20 million weapons deal to Arab countries. The two also plan to reaffirm American support for Middle East allies and shore up Arab support for U.S. policy in Iraq. The defense chief and the top diplomat are then slated to travel separately for additional Middle East meetings, with Rice scheduled to hold talks in Jerusalem and Ramallah later in this week.
The Taliban has extended its ultimatum on the release of the 22 remaining South Korean hostages until this afternoon. This might be the last ultimatum given to the Afghan government. As time passes, the probabilities that the hostages will be released are getting smaller. Most leaked news reports say that the ongoing negotiations have reached a deadlock and that they will most likely fail. Faiza Arak reports.
So far there is hope, but not for long. The Taliban has control over the fate of the remaining 22 South Korean hostages. If the Taliban's conditions are met, the hostages might be released, or else they will be executed. The residents of Ghazni, who were subjected to a military search campaign, say that it is unlikely that all the hostages will be executed.
We started a military search campaign in all Ghazni and all of its provinces.
The government must respond to the Taliban's conditions by releasing 10 or even 100 Taliban fighters, if that should become necessary.
However, the Afghan government and the Taliban insist on their positions. They want to impose their position on one another, even if the remaining 22 hostages are executed.
I do not understand anything. Why are the negotiations very difficult? Is the Afghan government or our government the problem? Or does the U.S. have a hand behind the delay?
Meanwhile, South Korean newspapers question the motive behind the delay in the release of the hostages.
My heart is aching. I plead for the safe return of my son and his colleagues. Please help us save our children.
This mother wants to know the reason for the deadlock in the negotiations, which prolongs the suffering experienced by families of the hostages.
Today, the family of Pastor Bae Hyung-kyu, a South Korean hostage who was executed by the Taliban last Friday, received his body. In a show of solidarity with the remaining hostages, Hyung-kyu's family said that they will not hold a funeral procession for him until all the hostages return safely to South Korea. Saudi and Iraqi fans watched their national teams compete in the final match of the Asia Soccer Cup in Amman.
These celebrations look like they were taking place in Baghdad, but in reality they were taking place in Amman. Fans enthusiastically watched the Asian Final Cup in coffee shops, waiting very patiently for this happy moment. According to Iraqi fans, their team was better and it performed very well. After the first half, they went dancing and singing in the streets hoping that their team wins.
Our national team lifted our heads up high.
They are playing very well, especially when considering that they do not practice in Baghdad. They do not even have enough money to fly from one place to the other. They have nothing and they won. God willing, we will win. God willing, Iraq will win Asia's Cup.
On the Saudi side, however, there was a different scene. Signs of dissatisfaction were obvious on the faces of the Saudi fans with the performance of their national team during the first half of the match.
The first half was not encouraging. God willing, Saudi Arabia will win Asia's Cup.
We hope their performance improves in the second half.
People don't always get what they wish for. The wishes of the Saudi fans who watched the match in Amman did not materialize. The match ended 1-0 with a goal scored by the Iraqi player Yunus Mahmoud, thus ending Saudi ambitions to win Asia's Cup for the fourth time.
I'm happy, we're extremely happy. God willing, one day we'll return to our motherland, which will be our ultimate joy, God willing. I want to congratulate every Iraqi. This victory is a gift to every wounded Iraqi.
Congratulations to Iraq. May God protect Iraq for the sake of the Prophet. Let this victory be a thorn in the eye of terrorism. We are all Iraqis, we are the same, Sunnis and Shiites who pray to the same God. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
The Iraqi national team has succeeded in creating a smile on the faces of their fans who patiently supported their team in Jordan, almost as if they were near the soccer field where the match took place. Muhammad Al-Azzam, Al-Arabiya, Amman.
A car bomb has exploded in the Iraqi capital Baghdad, leaving 6 people dead and many more injured. Reports say a large blast tore through a busy commercial area in the city center. It came just hours after the government lifted a vehicle ban imposed ahead of Iraq's football victory. Meanwhile, the U.S. military says 3 of its soldiers have died in fighting in central Iraq. The daily death toll and violence in Iraq is steering international attention away from a mounting humanitarian crisis. That's according to a report issued by Oxfam, who say that nearly a third of Iraqis need immediate emergency aid. Up to 70% of Iraqis have no adequate water supply, and nearly 30% of children in Iraq are malnourished. Now charities working in Iraq say the governments should be doing more to meet the basic needs of Iraqis, as well as their security. Manal Omar is from Oxfam. She says that without proper aid, the humanitarian situation is set to get much worse.
Currently, most of the funds that have been going to Iraq have been focusing on building political institutions, reconstruction and development, whereas very little funds have been provided for the humanitarian needs on the ground. Unfortunately, we feel that we still haven't seen the worst, and that's why we're calling attention to the humanitarian crisis. If there isn't creative means in terms of responding, it will continue to see the numbers going up and the situation deteriorate. Obviously, there can't be any stability, and the country will be further destabilized if these very basic needs are left unmet.
A team of UN nuclear inspectors is due in Iran to visit the heavy water reactor under construction at Arak. This rare access to the site follows months of negotiations. Iran says it's building the Arak reactor for research and medical purposes only and plans to finish its construction by 2009. But heavy water reactors also generate plutonium waste, which, like enriched uranium, can be used to build nuclear weapons. This is why last year the International Atomic Energy Agency rejected Iran's request for technical aid for Arak and has called on Iran to stop building the reactor. But Tehran refused to comply and has blocked access to the site since April this year. Our correspondent in Tehran, Ali Reza Ronaghi, explains the significance of the visit.
It's the first step of the action plan designed by Iran and the IAEA to address the outstanding issues between the two. In the same framework, Iran and IAEA experts are going to meet next Monday, August 6th, to design further steps in this action plan. What Iran expects out of this visit is to show it's willing to solve the outstanding issues, it's willing to answer the unanswered questions about its controversial nuclear program. And what IAEA is expecting out of this visit is to verify the peaceful nature of Iran's activities in the heavy water plant, which was out of reach of the IAEA inspectors so far. So both sides have the enormous expectations from this visit, and the rest of the action plan, the rest of cooperation and close cooperation that Iran has been carrying out with the IAEA depends very much on the results of this first step.
The upcoming 5th of August will be a historical day for the Gemayel family in Mount Lebanon. It is the scheduled date for the parliamentary by-elections to fill the empty seat of the young Pierre Gemayel, who was assassinated a little over a year and a half ago. In addition, by-elections will be held in Beirut to fill the seat of the assassinated member of parliament, Walid Ido. This election surpasses its regional purpose and is representative of the current Lebanese political issues, especially the upcoming presidential elections. This is precisely why the former Lebanese president, Amin Gemayel, has chosen to personally spearhead this battle, using the full weight of his political career and that of his families, who are well recognized in the Lebanese political arena. The following report sheds light on Amin Gemayel, who was selected as the Personality of the Week on our program.
Fate has had many encounters with the Gemayel family, and especially with its eldest son, Amin. His family was well involved in politics way before his birth in 1942. His father, Pierre Gemayel, was the founder of the Qatar Party and its leader for over 40 years. After his graduation, Amin studied law and became an active member of the Qatar's political office. His political saga has been highlighted by many tragic moments that befell his family. After the death of his father, he took on far greater responsibilities that exceeded those of an ordinary political member of the Qatar Party. In 1972, he became a member of the Lebanese parliament. And in 1982, he was elected president after the assassination of his brother, Bashir. Now, and after his assassination of his son Pierre in 2006, Amin nominated himself for the Metin district elections to fill the empty seat his son left behind.
Let your voices give rebirth to Pierre. Pierre, you will always be with us.
Amin Gemayel's political journey saw many losses of loved ones. His reign witnessed the civil war, which led to the division of Lebanon's government into two administrations, one that was civil and led by Salim al-Hous, and the other militaristic, led by Michel Aoun, who was appointed by Gemayel himself as prime minister of the interim government before Gemayel left office. Aoun is currently the leader of the Christian Free Patriotic Movement. Accompanied by his appointed prime minister Michel Aoun, Amin then migrated to Paris, where the two continued to work as allies, united by their political stands and exiles. Gemayel returned to Lebanon after 10 years to find himself standing on the opposite political end of his previous ally, Michel Aoun. Elected as the president of Lebanon and considered a prominent mediator between Washington and the late Saddam Hussein before the invasion of Iraq, Amin Gemayel returns today as a candidate for the local elections. He leads a fierce campaign against his opponent, who is supported by the Free Patriotic Movement, led by his ex-ally, Michel Aoun. An election battle that Gemayel chose to fight for many reasons, primarily for maintaining the majority of seats for the March 14th alliance, the possibility of his return to the presidency post, and to regain political positions for his family, a family whose members have been unified by the shadow of death. رغيدة زويني العربية.
The Lebanese Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defense, Elias Al-Mour, said that the army will make the necessary security and military preparations during the upcoming parliamentary elections next Sunday, when candidates compete for the seats of their assassinated representatives. This comes as heated statements have escalated between various political leaders. The Secretary General of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, said that Israel's objective in last year's war was at a minimum to reach security agreements with the Senora government, which Israel had thought would take control of Lebanon. Ultimately, it wanted to make political agreements.
It appears that leaders in Lebanon do not understand well the brief statement made by the French Foreign Minister Bernard Kouchner, who said, "If you do not have dialogue, that means war." Perhaps it was their political stubbornness and political mudslinging that prevented them from understanding. For his part, the president of the Lebanese Qatar party carried out a campaign against General Aoun, accusing him of being rude, defaming the character of institutions, misleading people under the pretext of defending Christians, and separating the authorities of the president and the Christians, contrary to what he claims. He asks the question, if it weren't for the martyrs of the Qatar party, would Aoun have been able to stand today and say that the Kataib is marginalizing the role of Christians? He's shocked by Aoun's stubborn positions in the by-elections, considering them a challenge to the desire of Ibkirke and the Metin district Christians. He ended by saying, if he wants a battle, so be it.
The people of Matan want to decide today. They want to decide with clarity. Do Matan officials want for the people of Matan to live with complete independence? Or do they want the election battle in Matan to be linked to the battles or alliances that begin in Matan to Damascus, to Palestine, and reaching Tehran?
With even more heated words, General Aoun responded to Gemayel's statements, saying that he does not stoop to this level and his position is not sound. Aoun called on him to stop defaming him and maintain respect of his position as the former president of the Republic.
Brother Amin, I know you well. Frankly, not you or everything you are so proud of is worth what is below my belt. There is a type of degradation in political thinking and culture.
What was considered a unique day of heated speeches, the General Secretary of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, ended it with a message to the ruling party, saying that Lebanon cannot be ruled by a puppet government, and that the opposition does not want to change the political paradigm in Lebanon or control Lebanon. The opposition's greatest ambition is political cooperation in the running of the country. He added that there's no reason for anyone to talk about Islamicizing Lebanon, reassigning the Christians to dhimmis, or having Shiites control the rest of the Muslims. He described all these as imaginations and hallucinations aimed at creating divisions among Lebanese, whom he called on to come together.
You'll find that the resistance in Lebanon is the most protective of national unity, civil peace, stability, coexistence, the national project, brotherhood, and unity among the Lebanese with all their different religions, sects, fronts, and regions.
Insults and threats are the most that the Lebanese leaders can offer to Lebanon and its people. It seems that there is no place yet for resolutions and serious ideas that will contribute to resolving the current crisis. For Madar, Ala Al-Mallah, Abu Dhabi TV, Beirut.
IAEA inspectors inspected a 40-megawatt nuclear research reactor in Arak facility. The 5-hour inspection took place following the recent agreement reached between Iran and the UN Atomic Agency to resolve the remaining issues on Iran's nuclear program. The proposal to resolve the remaining issues was raised by Iran's top nuclear negotiator Ali Larijani in Madrid. Arak project is to substitute Tehran research reactor designed to provide isotopes for more than 200 hospitals in the country. Tehran Stock Exchange chief Ali Saleh Abadi says Iran has launched financial discussions with a few countries and reached accord with Malaysia to pave the way for Iranian companies to sell shares in the country's stock exchange. He further said the initial public offering IPO for 2 other Iranian firms in London Stock Exchange have failed to produce results. He added the Tehran Stock Exchange, TSE, will pursue efforts to be connected to other bourses. Saleh Abadi went on to say a Tehran meeting of the ECO will see Iran in the months to come open talks with Turkey and Pakistan to discuss the organization's stock exchange. Southeast Asian nations Monday urged the U.S. and other nations to pull forces out of Iraq, saying it would help bring the war-torn country back to normal. Foreign ministers from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, issued the call in a statement after a day of talks at their annual meeting ahead of a regional 10 security summit. The 10-member countries host the annual ASEAN Regional Forum, ARF, the main security meeting for the Asia-Pacific region, where the US and Australia, which have troops in Iraq and Afghanistan, will attend. The Taliban say they shot dead a South Korean hostage late Monday after their deadlines expired for the government to free prisoners in jail. A Taliban spokesman said, quote, "We set several deadlines and the Afghan government did not pay attention to our deadlines. And finally tonight we killed one of the Koreans named Sung Sin with AK-47 gunshots," unquote. The body of the hostage was dumped in the Karabakh district of the southern province of Ghazni. Visiting British Prime Minister Gordon Brown told a press conference that he and US President George W. Bush will step up pressure to end violence in Sudan's Darfur province as the two men wrapped up talks in Camp David, Maryland. Monday was the second meeting between Bush and Brown, with discussion on forging the way forward in Iraq also expected to dominate the talks. Brown, on his first official U.S. visit 1 month after taking power, also is expected to try to secure movement on stalled world trade talks. Oil Minister Kazem Vaziri Hamane says Iran's daily gasoline consumption has dropped by about 20 million litres since the country started to ration fuel in late June. The oil chief said on Monday the fuel saving has brought home at least $10 million a day, and added the government plans to inject the saved amount into increasing the capacity of the oil refineries, expansion of urban and nationwide railway networks, and promotion of insurance coverage.
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. Please visit linktv.org/Mosaic for more information about these broadcasters, or to view previous Mosaic programs, obtain program transcripts, or receive the weekly Mosaic Intelligence Report. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation, the Otto Haas Charitable Trust, and by committed Link TV viewers like you. If you value this program, please send your tax-deductible contribution to Link TV, either through the website or the mailing address listed on your screen. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.